With less than 2 weeks to go until the first primaries and caucuses begin, Claire McCaskill, Democratic senator, is warning voters that if Bernie Sanders ends up winning and becomes the Democratic nominee, then he could tank the whole damn thing for the Democrats. Let's watch.
My colleague said the Republican attack machine has chainsaws for hands. And I think the point I was trying to make is Bernie has not felt those chainsaws, and they would come out with a vengeance if he was our nominee.
Do you think a socialist, a self-declared socialist, could win the presidency of the United States?
I can only speak for my state. I think it would be absolutely impossible. You've got to win states like Missouri if you're going to win the presidency, states like Indiana, states like Ohio, states like Pennsylvania. It is very hard, I think, for most Americans to see how socialism would cure the problems that we are facing right now.
And there's no way that you could ever make that case. So that's what she says on MSNBC.
The other problem is that you don't have to win Missouri or Indiana to win the presidency as a Democrat. She may be right that, yes, socialist in Missouri or Missouri might not be a great thing to put on the back of your jersey, but
she's overhyping the necessity.
The necessity of winning Missouri or
those
Indiana.
Particular places, yeah. I mean, look, she also, this is obviously not, she wasn't just asked a question and chose to respond, because she also told the New York Times the Republicans won't touch him because they can't wait to run an ad with a hammer and sickle. Which, look, that's a very real threat, because were it to be Hillary Clinton, the Republicans have never attacked her before. They would not be able to find a way. But, to be fair, it might be harder. Look, I personally feel like were he to be the candidate, and were he to find a good way to express why his political ideology would work for the majority of people, and I was recently talking with a friend and said, as much as I hate when politicians do I was speaking with Debbie in Kansas City, and she said he could do a little bit of that. He never, ever does that. I think that could actually help to get down ballot Democrats to be voted in office as well. But a lot of people don't think that that's the case, and a lot of people agree with Claire McCaskill that it could end up being a disaster.
Well, there are a couple of things that are working here. First of all, Claire McCaskill had a very hard time getting back into the good graces of Hillary Clinton. She was a supporter, an early supporter of Barack Obama's, and there was always a little bit of friction there. Another issue that I think that there has to be looked at with Claire McCaskill and what she's saying here about hurting Democrats is nobody knows, right? So it's the same thing with Ted Cruz in Canada. Most legal scholars think that he's fine, right? That natural born is ill-defined in the Constitution. He was born to a natural-born American mother in Canada, moved here. He should be eligible according to how it's been. But you go out on the trail, you don't know if having that lingering question over his shoulder is going to hurt the Cruz candidacy. In the same way, socialist. Look, a hammer and sickle. Most young voters, people don't know what the hammer and sickle is. It's an old thing. It's not something that's going to bother. There are not a lot of Cold War voters who are new to this game who are going to be, turned off of Bernie Sanders.
If they know from anything, it's like retro expensive T-shirts.
Right.
That'll just have one for no reason.
So someone like Claire McCaskill wants to go in low risk, right? So is there a risk to Bernie Sanders? Probably a little bit of a risk. Socialism, a bit of a risk going out there. Could it hurt down ballot Democrats? Definitely. But down ballot Democrats are in trouble in a lot of states anyway, and it also could bring some other people out of Sanders' candidacy. You just don't know. But for her to say it in such an absolute way, I also don't. She's allowed to say it. She's allowed to say it. Missouri,
definitely,
probably not a good thing. And I think that's a danger in nominating Bernie Sanders. It may work out just fine and not be dangerous, but it's something that you have to think about.
Yeah. I mean, we saw recently, I don't know if was it yesterday or was it the day before, it was the New Hampshire poll for Bernie Sanders that puts him up something like 27 points. It's a CNN poll. That being said, to me, until I see other polls mirroring something like that, it's probably somewhat of an outlier, but even if it's off by 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 points, he's up big, probably. And amongst particular demographic groups, especially millennials, he's just absolutely crushing. And I'm not going to remember, I don't watch late night television, but one of the hosts made the point yesterday that he has somehow, while millennials and young people don't generally care much for extremely elderly people, you can cross the Betty White threshold, and all of a sudden it's cool to like an extremely old person. And because in some ways the policies that he pushes for are the sorts of policies that it's likely that you will be a fan of your freshman or sophomore year of college, that it strikes a tone. And when you can bring in young people And the economic message should resonate amongst poor and middle-class workers who have been largely left behind, especially by Republicans who are just so aggressively against unions and against anything like raising the minimum wage or various things like that. It's not impossible that he could take that message and bring in new people. And it's not like Hillary Clinton isn't, although she's very popular amongst Democrats, she's a divisive figure, and a lot of people have long since made up their mind about her.
Most people have, John.
Most people
know what
something
they feel
like
about
92%
it. But that's
have
why
an
she's
opinion.
a lower risk candidate.
Lower
Because
risk, but also lower potential benefit.
Well,
She's not going to all of a sudden bring a wave.
That's true, but if she is able to get younger voters, that's a wave because she has enough Democrats.
She needs to get him back from Bernie first.
No, she needs to get him back from Obama. You know, she needs to. She doesn't have to worry about Bernie as much as Obama if she gets the nomination. Getting them back from Bernie. These are people that voted for Obama. A lot of them in their early 20s, and a lot of them who are new to the process who vote for Bernie. What people always fail to realize in the primaries is that are these people going to vote for Hillary? These people dislike Cruz and Trump and those people much more than they dislike Hillary Clinton. And so that is a motivating factor that's going to bring them out in the fall, probably, maybe not in the perfect numbers that will get them caucusing and voting in the primaries. But I think that nobody can know. Sanders could help every single down ballot Democrat in America. He could really create energy behind them. We just don't know. It's not unfair for McCaskill to say that.
Because, I'm not saying it's unfair.
No, I know you're not. But I'm sure there are people that are saying it is a good starter for debate. But the big thing is that she is endorsing Hillary Clinton. That's a much bigger piece of news, and it's happened already because she and Clinton wouldn't even talk to each other or look at each other for a while.
What do you make of his seeming attack on Planned Parenthood and HRC as part of the establishment? Because that, again, it seems to be that kind of tapping into that angry sentiment.
Right, but I don't know that I would call it an attack, though. I mean, I think that it would be...
He said you were part of the establishment.
Right, well, but that's assuming that anything that's part of the establishment is an attack. Yes, I mean, Planned Parenthood is part of it. It is a political functionary to him, and people of his ilk. But, he would protect it at all costs. So I don't think that he's attacking the group, but I'm saying this is what happens when you have establishment anything, is that people are going to, have to go after the establishment because they operate in ways that make it difficult to defend them very often. Yeah. Right. So defending Planned Parenthood is a challenge to some people, even people who sympathize with the work they do, because of the way they're run.
Yeah. Although Hillary, I saw, is already fundraising off of those comments.
Yeah, no, and
it's certainly
she
being
should.
pitched
I mean, that's what people do.
That's what they do. That's certainly what they do.
And she'd be fundraising off of something else if,
that's true.
So I don't think
they seem to really think this money is important in these elections.
Yeah,
Jesus.
What are they thinking? It's about votes, John. It's about votes.
And to what you said about the getting the Obama voters, I mean, we saw her continually in the last debate invoking, "I'm the defender and the continuer of the Obama legacy," and she certainly seems to be thinking what you're thinking.
Especially as it applies to healthcare, because I think Bill Clinton said something pretty great today about that, which is that why if Sanders wins and Sanders' health care is out there, maybe it's a good health care plan, but it will create a stalemate, deadlock, a gridlock all the way through while it's debatable. We already have something here. Let's make what's here better and not have to deal with a deadlock Congress over another issue. And I think that's a great piece of politics there, which I think he knows a bit about.
Yeah, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent. It just seems to me that if the case that you're making, not you, if a person's case that they're making is that you're likely to still have a Republican Congress and you're likely to still have a Republican Senate, and so bringing up single payer isn't going to lead to anything. Well, they're not. They don't seem particularly amenable to any strengthening of Obamacare either.
It's not
so you're basically admitting nothing's going to happen.
Even if you say you have a Democratic Senate and a Democratic House, let's just go the other way, and we presume that's not going to happen. But let's go. It's still the idea that anything new creates some kind of gridlock in Congress. We have a health care plan. He's saying, let's make it better. Let's not go down that road. In 1993, I proposed health care, and we got it in 2013 or something. So let's...
Well, if it's going to take that long, we should start now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It just seems to me that if the case that you're making, not you, if a person's case that they're making is that you're likely to still have a Republican Congress and you're likely to still have a Republican Senate, and so bringing up single payer isn't going to lead to anything, well, they're not. They don't seem particularly amenable to any strengthening of Obamacare either.
It's not
so you're basically admitting nothing's going to happen.
Even if you say you have a Democratic Senate and a Democratic House, let's just go the other way, and we presume that's not going to happen. But let's go. It's still the idea that anything new creates some kind of gridlock in Congress. We have a health care plan. He's saying, let's make it better. Let's not go down that road. In 1993, I proposed health care, and we got it in 2013 or something. So let's.
Well, if it's going to take that long, we should start now.
Yeah, that's a good point.